on today's episode of Titletown Takes.
All right, I'll list a couple. Tom Brady, Wayne Gretzky, Tiger Woods, Bo Jackson.
Tiger Woods is an athlete,
Jackson,
and
yes,
you need
he
to
is.
stop right now.
Tiger
Stop.
Woods.
Athlete, Ian, not GOAT. Greatest of all time, sure. Athlete, he's a golfer. No golfer is a good athlete.
I'm putting Tiger.
After
Hey,
you put
this
Tiger
is
Woods.
all opinion based here, fellas.
I
opinion is wrong.
understand. I'm telling you, your
Brady?
opinion is wrong.
All right, Titletown Takes is back on the air, episode number 47. I would say Torrey Krug epi, but yeah, we'll say Torrey Krug anyways. Ian Beauchesne.
This is your Michael Humanao-Inui.
Okay,
Damn straight
man,
it is.
there we go.
Damn
Man, that's
straight.
even better.
Or
Ian Beauchesne,
Jacob Johnson. The German Hammer.
Oh, yeah.
Jakob Johnson.
Jacob Johnson, Jacob Hollister.
There you go.
Oh, that's a name.
There you
We
go.
can bring it out if we really need to. Come on.
All right, fellas.
man.
Ian Beauchesne, Connor Powell, Cameron Urbowicz, happy to be back. Everybody enjoy their Super Bowl Sunday.
I mean,
I had a great Super Bowl Sunday.
it snowed, so that was fun. But I mean, I'm weatherman Cameron at this point.
Yeah, I know. Driving
but, I
through
mean,
snow
the
is a
game-
pain in the ass.
Fellas, the game was awful. Let's be honest.
Yeah, the game. Oh boy, we'll get it. Yeah,
Yeah.
jeez.
We'll get into it.
It depends on what side of the argument you fall on, right? If
I
you're
mean, if you're a neutral, I don't think that game was fun to watch for the neutral.
exactly, I really
For
think
us, it was fun.
the only interesting part, I think, right, fellas, would have been the gambling aspect for some people.
Sure.
You know, if you had some money on the line, that
Yep.
might have drawn your interest a little bit more, whether you were going to hit the over or not. The over was set at 56, and it didn't even sniff it. 16 points short. But anyways, yeah, we're back on the air, episode number 47. We got a lot of good stuff to get into, so we're not going to waste any more time. We already talked about it. Tom Brady now has more Super Bowls as a player than all 32 NFL franchises, fellas.
And he ties Bill Belichick for rings.
Facts.
Bill Belichick and Brady both have 7 now.
Facts. And that's only because Belichick brings in the ones that he won prior being an assistant coach. But yeah, fellas, Tom Brady, GOAT status, cemented, yay or nay?
It already was.
It depends on who you talk to.
So here's the thing. It could have been argued against him in the past. It can't be now.
Yeah, greatest football player of all time, Tom Brady.
Yeah.
The goat overarching. Who knows? We'll get into that also. But
yeah,
Brady definitely the greatest football player of all time when it comes to his accolades, what he's done, records he's held, and all that. So
playoff success.
The argument is over. Mahomes, if Mahomes beat Brady, maybe he could still be in the conversation. Way down the line.
Dude, he's got 2.
Down the line.
This is what pisses me off is the people that are talking about Mahomes being the GOAT right now. Get the hell out of here. He's been in the league for 3 years. You can't call him the GOAT right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's so crazy to me, and I've heard somebody be like, yeah, but no, he's such a good athlete. And again, we'll get into that a little later, but you know, I don't care if you're an athlete. If you've been in if you've been in a league for 3 years, you cannot be the greatest in that league if you've been in that league for such a short amount of time.
Also, the NFL took a bit of an L. They're like, oh, the greatest of all time versus the greatest right now. He certainly didn't look it on Sunday. I'd say the greatest right now is Deshaun Watson. Regardless of what team he's on, he threw for 5,000 yards on that terrible team.
He did.
Whoa. Yeah, he threw for. Yeah, he had a big year.
Okay,
not high over 5,000, but 5,000.
5,000 yards is tough to get to on a good team. Nevertheless,
a bad team,
Texans,
a 4-12 team. So
And
I think that Sean Watson is the best quarterback in the league right now.
fellas, I also think it's got to be talked about too. The road that Brady had to go through this year in the postseason to get to the Super Bowl alone,
pretty monumental.
He had to go through. All right, Washington, whatever.
The hardest
put up the best fight. Honestly,
I was going to say
that was true. Yes.
The hardest challenge was the Washington football. Who was the quarterback?
Tyler Heineke.
He balled out in that game, man.
Former New England Patriot training camp invite, Tyler Heineke.
True.
So he had to go through Washington, and then he went through Breeze in New Orleans, and then he went through Rodgers in Green Bay, and then he had to go through Mahomes at home, but still, he had to go through Mahomes.
in terms of that. Do you think them playing in Ralph?
No,
James
there was no advantage if that's where you're going.
You don't think so?
No.
You don't think there's
I think there
any
was an
advantage?
advantage.
Kansas City spent 2 weeks at home and then flew out on the Friday before the Super Bowl and got to go to Tampa.
Yeah, and
they were at home the whole time too. It wasn't a normal year.
Yeah, but it's not their field.
It's not their
stadium.
Okay, do you really think that Tampa was practicing on the field that the NFL was probably trying to manage?
I think they were. I think they were. My dad called me. I called my dad when I got home after the women's game on Sunday, and he said, Cam, I think the Chiefs are really going to struggle, not because of their bad team. I think they're going to struggle because of the humidity. You know, when you're going from 10, 20-degree Kansas City on one day on a Saturday to get ready for a Sunday start, when you're going from 20 degrees to 70 degrees with 80% humidity, and you got a lot of big dudes on that team, they're going to get worn down. They clearly, they obviously aren't used to it. Maybe that played a factor.
But come on here. These guys are professional athletes. They get paid millions of dollars to do that kind of thing.
I don't know, Ian. We've seen
for 16 weeks out of a year.
Yeah, no, I understand that, Ian, but they're also human beings.
Ian, we've seen the Patriots go down to Miami in that humidity and just get demolished because our big dudes are tiring out easier.
It's not even the humidity. I'm talking about
just sucking wind.
Something as simple as the comfort of playing in your home stadium is more. I think that means more in a big stage like that than you would think.
Tampa also had their home locker room.
Yeah.
I still don't put any stock in it.
I don't think it's that big of a deal, but I think it mattered a little. I don't think it was the reason Tampa won. There was a lot of other reasons, but
I also do want to bring up the point here of the injury that Mahomes had. I mean, he's going in for surgery for a turf toe. It's now been released.
Oh yeah,
I think it's something deeper than turf toe. I think
that's what it was released
soften it up. Torn plantar plate in his foot. Ugh. It's also known as turf toe, but it sounds like two different things. So who knows?
Yeah. We're not doctors here.
No, we're far from that.
Takes.
So I wanted to get into it a little bit more here. Tom Brady wins his 7th Super Bowl.
Yeah.
He left New England. Connor, are you finally willing to admit that Bill Belichick was wrong?
Oh, yeah. I don't know. Was I ever against that?
I feel like
maybe for a time there when I was on the Big Chungus train. But yeah, Bill Belichick was wrong. But here's what I want to get into.
Okay.
He's not my quarterback. This needs to be talked about because Ian, I love you, man, but you did not once have this my quarterback narrative until the NFC Championship game.
Part of that was because I thought the Saints were going to get to the Super Bowl again.
Yeah, here we go. Up and on the bandwagon with the tough team.
Hold on.
I still can't believe you made that take, Ian.
It was a terrible take, okay? That's why it was in
the
intro.
No, it was. It's an awful take. It's true.
But Tom Brady spent 20 years here, fellas. Correct me if I'm wrong.
He did.
Right?
Yep.
He won 6 titles.
Absolutely.
He was the quarterback that we all grew up watching.
That's correct.
So if the Patriots weren't going to be in the postseason and we were going to see anybody else succeed and win,
sure,
I'd rather have it be a guy that used to play here.
Yeah, Ian, I'm with you on that 100%. But what is the what's his helmet?
It's a Buccaneer thing. Fine, whatever. It's not gonna. It's
Flying
not gonna.
Elvis?
No, it's not gonna stop.
Oh, it's not. Then he's not my quarterback. I am a Patriots fan first. Patriots got eliminated. Good. Sure, I'll root for Tom Brady, but he's not my quarterback.
I'm a Patriot fan first too. That needs to be on the table
for the New England Patriots, Ian, not the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I will root for Tom Brady. Sure, I will root for him. He did a lot for New England, but I will not call him my quarterback because he's simply not. I will call Big Chungus my quarterback because he suits up for the Patriots. Do I like that? No, he sucks. But it's who we have, okay?
Here's my deal. I'm gonna put it out here. I didn't tweet it, but these guys know, and everyone that I've in a conversation knows. I bought a Brady jersey after Super Bowl 55 with the patch because I wanted it.
I'll be buying one too, Cam.
I do consider. So here's the deal. I do, in a sense, consider Brady still. He's not my quarterback, but he's still my in the words of friend of the show, Boosh, he's my guy.
Yeah.
Okay? Brady's my guy.
Well, yeah, you
I never went out of the way to watch the Bucs during the regular season. Never did it. Okay? Like, they'd be playing on Sunday night or Monday night, only game on, and I wouldn't even turn it on. I couldn't be bothered. But when the postseason came around, I went to work for a women's game, and I'm like, I got to get home. I got to watch Brady in the playoffs. I got to watch Brady because it's Brady in the playoffs. It's so important. And I was able to do it. And, I thought heading into the Super Bowl, I'd be able to sit down and be able to enjoy it. Brady goes out for his first series, and my heart, starts beating fast. I'm like, I don't have any connection to the Bucs at all, but here I am hanging on every play because I still love Brady. I was talking about it with another friend. I said, he was like, oh, I don't know why I'm rooting for the Bucs so hard or whatever. And I'm like, well, it's Brady. The love just doesn't go away even though he's not here. Yeah. It's not like he went to a big rival like Vinatieri went to the Colts.
Fair.
Or, what have you. It's like when Ray Bork went to the Avs to go win. Yep. And he came back and he had a nice parade. And it was a bit of a Loserville moment, but everyone kind of felt nice at the time. The love just doesn't leave when the player does.
And my thing's
over. He didn't do us wrong. He left and he went to go win, and that's what matters.
Carrying off of Cam's point, same thing. First series, he went out. I was like, oh boy, Tom's out there. Oh God,
are you kidding
Come on.
me?
And I found myself jumping up and cheering like, yeah. Anytime he put the ball in the end zone, including
I did too.
Including the two passes
not even gonna lie.
to Gronk. I was and part of that might just part of that might have been just because I despise Kansas City and some of the terrible people that they have on that roster that don't deserve.
Let's not act like the
NFL
Bucs are full of saints.
But I know. I was just gonna get to
model citizen Antonio Brown, Cameron. Model citizen.
Reshaped his image. His image.
Bruce Arians called him a model citizen. Model citizen.
But
shape your life after
a system AB that believes in him. When AB came to New England, it's like Belichick doesn't like him. Brady was the only one that gave him a chance.
Yep.
And then he came to Tampa, and he probably sat down with Bruce and said, "Look, one chance. That's all you're getting." And then Brady. Say what you want about Brady. He believes in people.
He does.
And I don't know if you guys saw AB's interview after the game. He was glowing. Mm-hmm. He was ecstatic. He was
smiling through the CT.
Piling praise on Brady. Called him one of the greatest people he's ever known in his life. Said he never gave up on me, and I'm so happy that he never did. Like, guy was glowing. It was unbelievable.
But yeah, to Cam's point, I was supporting. I was cheering. Whatever, it was. Again, he's my guy. All right, we'll rephrase the term here. My guy.
Right. I can take that. I can't take my quarterback.
I enjoy seeing him win. It's
Sure. And you know what? I'll be honest with you, Ian. Like, it's not like I was rooting against Tom Brady. I was rooting for Tampa Bay. It's the Chiefs. I'm not going to root for the Chiefs. You know what I mean? No. I have nothing against Tom Brady. Let's get that narrative out of the window right now. I have nothing against the man. I was rooting for him, but I was more of a neutral fan compared to you guys. My heart wasn't going. I was just watching the game, man.
Yeah, I don't know. Aside from there not being a flying Elvis helmet anywhere close to that field, I was as interested in that game as I was if the Patriots would have been. Obviously.
Let's not go that far.
The heart rate.
I didn't even go that far.
The heart race and the pulse were miles below.
Okay, all right.
Where it would have been.
Yeah, but it was higher stakes compared to if Josh Allen and the Bills were.
Yes. Okay. Yes. I had more of a rooting interest as if the Bills or whoever, I
guess NFC,
the Packers,
say Rodgers. Yeah.
I don't know I don't know. I probably would have been in your boat, Connor, if the Packers had made it to the Super Bowl as opposed to the Bucs.
I think I would have been more attentive because I didn't believe for 1 second Patrick Mahomes was going to beat Tom Brady. Just didn't believe it.
I was the other way around. I mean, I talked about it on the previous show. You can go back and listen to that. But I said that the Bucs had to learn on defense how to defend the Chiefs. They did, but I wasn't convinced that they would actually pull it off.
Yeah, fair.
You know,
I thought it was going to be a lot better.
They doubled Tyreek, they doubled Kelsey, and then the Chiefs got in trouble because their O-line didn't block anybody.
Well, Cam, to that point, you just brought it up. Last episode, you brought up some other facts and numbers that you thought were going to be keys to the game. So we'll throw it over to you for the Super Bowl 55 facts and figures.
All right, so I'm going to toot my own horn here to start. If you go back and listen to the other episode, everything I said about this Super Bowl came true. I said that the keys to the game were this. I said that Todd Bowles would have to blitz a lot to get after Mahomes. You know, he was hurt, and then his O-line was dead. He had to bring the pressure. He did. He didn't even blitz most of the time. If you go back and watch, it was 4, sometimes 5. It was mostly the front 4, the big boys, JPP and all them, getting up front. Shaq Barrett getting up front, pushing the line back and really putting pressure on Mahomes. Mahomes pressured 29 of 56 dropbacks, most
which
of
is
Super Bowl
crazy
history.
Yeah,
compared to Brady 4 and 30 for him on the other side of the ball. I said that Devin White would have to make a big play, and granted, the big play was kind of in garbage time. I mean, Antoine Winfield as well. I did not bring him up. What a great game he had as well. But I said that
Connor,
Devin White would have to make a big play. You know, the reigning defensive rookie of the year. He did. He got the pick. Granted, a bit in garbage time. It was 31-9 at that point, but still put the game on ice. Big play for him. And I said that for the Bucs to succeed and for the Chiefs to succeed, the Chiefs have to be able to cover all of the weapons. I said AB, Evans, Godwin, Brate, Gronk, Fournette, Jones. Someone's going to be open was what I said on the show. Someone was always open. Brady went through all of his reads on the second touchdown to Gronk. He looked to Evans, he wasn't open. He looked to Godwin, he wasn't open. He looked to Gronk, he was open. Great push by the O-line. 5 seconds for Brady to throw that ball. Got it in there for the touchdown. And then, you know, we can talk about throwing the ball, whatever. The Chiefs' D-line needs to answer a lot of questions. You know, Ronald Jones and Fournette are a very formidable running duo. They complement each other well. But you can't allow 5, 6, 7 rushing yards every time they get the ball. Every time. I know the Bucs O-line has transformed with Tristan Wirfs. Great player. 91.8 rating in the Super Bowl. Best O-lineman on either side in that game. He helped tremendously. But they're parting them like the Red Sea.
Yeah.
Every time they got the ball, they were just getting into the teeth of the defense. They weren't really breaking off any massive runs, 20, but 5, 6, 7, they'd chip away. It was vintage. It was a vintage Brady drive. You chip away, and then you go down and score. So those were the key. I said those were the keys, and they came through big. And everything I said was correct.
As good as Tampa's offensive line was, how bad was Kansas City's? I know they were banged up. But they
were banged up.
Did you guys get a look at the next gen stats that came out following the game about Mahomes and his scramble numbers?
Oh, he ran for like 460 yards. Scrambled,
497 yards before either getting off a pass or being sacked by the Bucs defensive line.
You can't it's tough. It's tough because everything usually does go on the quarterback, but that game wasn't Mahomes' fault.
Yeah, that game definitely wasn't.
For that. No one got
dropped
open.
A touchdown.
Yeah.
Mecole Hardman hit him right in the face.
Yep. Come on.
There was another jump ball that was batted away.
You're scrambling for almost 500 yards.
Yeah. I called my dad after the game and I said, you know, people are going to talk about Mahomes or whatever. He was balling out, man. He was trying his best, and I can't fault him for that. Nope. He was being a competitor. He was trying his best, and, you know, sometimes it doesn't work out that way.
How about Tyrann Mathieu with Brady? It's like,
oh, man.
Of all people.
Talk to Brady, man.
Love seeing the fire from Tom in that moment.
Oh, absolutely. And it's like you should know at this point. He's been in the league for almost 25 years.
Brady was mic'd up for the game, guys. We'll see what he had to say.
Boy, that's going to be
Matthew seemed to imply that Brady said something to him, but he deleted it, maybe because he found out Brady was mic'd up and he either lied or he didn't, you know, whatever.
Wouldn't surprise me.
Brady did apologize for whatever he said. He confirmed that. So, I mean, we'll find out what he said if it comes out.
We will.
So, Cam, you also wanted to talk about the numbers nationally for broadcasts. It was a very, very underperforming Super Bowl.
Before we get into that, I have two other stats for you about this game. Otis Taylor is the last Chiefs receiver to catch a touchdown in the Super Bowl, back in Super Bowl 4 from Len Dawson.
That's right.
Dude, do you remember the Chiefs didn't have a touchdown from a wide receiver for
for over a year? Yeah.
Yeah.
Back in the mid 2012s. Yeah.
With Alex Smith.
Mid 2012s. 2012 was the year. Mid 2010s. Yeah, they didn't have a touchdown for a receiver, and that's carried over in their Super Bowl. Haven't had a Super Bowl touchdown since 1970. And the other stat, which is pretty friggin' crazy, all points scored in the Super Bowl by the Bucs were scored by a player that was not on the Bucs the previous year. Brady to Gronk, Brady to AB, Leonard Fournette rushing touchdown, and then all the kicks were done by Ryan Suckup, who joined him this season. So talk about a team that's just undergone a transformation.
Who's the GM of the Bucs? Give him a raise. He did a good job.
If we talk about MVPs, he probably deserves an MVP in that as well. Oh, yeah. So.
And also, can we talk? How do we feel about Bruce Arians?
I'm indifferent. I don't mind the guy. I thought after he left Arizona, I thought that he definitely deserved another opportunity to get back into coaching.
He came out of retirement to coach Jameis Winston, so clearly he saw something in him.
Exactly. He either that, and he also missed. They brought it up on the broadcast saying that he jumped on the TV side of things and whatever, that he enjoyed it, but it also made him realize just how much he missed the coaching aspect of the game, and also to see his family there and to see his 95-year-old mother sitting up in the stands as well. Good for him. You know, the guy's been through a lot. He kind of went through the ringer out in Arizona before they let him go, and you know, at the end of the day, good for him.
Awesome.
But also wanted to talk about the streaker, fellas. We had a streaker at the Super Bowl. When's the last time that happened?
Super Bowl 38 had one.
Yeah. Okay. I think that was the last time.
But you had the halftime show, and then you had a streaker. It was all crazy.
It was
all of a sudden they invite fans back, and all of a sudden,
pull up your pants, man. Yeah, have some respect.
Kevin Harlan call was electric.
Kevin Harlan, another A+ call from him. He don't miss, Kevin Harlan.
No, the last good call he had like that was the cat.
Yes,
where he got the ad read in.
He got the 10.
And then he just
in the CDW red zone. You know you're good when you can make whatever and get an ad read in for it.
Yep. Exactly.
You know you're good.
But anyway, just to the streaker real quick. There were odds on some betting site or whatever. It was plus 700 that there was going to be a streaker on there. So he put down $100 or 150. I can't remember the exact number.
He better have already received his payout before revealing this information to the world. Because
he did, because he used the bet money that he won to bail himself out of jail after the game. Him and his buddy.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
To this point, if you knew you were going to streak, why wouldn't you put more money on it?
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Why wouldn't you put your life savings on it? Right.
Right.
Well, there's always the possibility that you can get stopped.
Right.
Well, so that was the thing.
You gotta be fast.
The streaker and his buddy. There was a buddy that he had with him. His buddy he jumped down first to create a diversion, and then that opened up the opportunity for him to go over the rails and make his run down the field. Yeah.
Which is impressive because there's not that many fans. Like, there was a decent amount of people there, but it's not a full house.
And a lot of them were healthcare workers and frontline workers, which was awesome. Yeah. Props to the NFL for doing that.
We're not 75,000, 7,500.
Yeah.
But yeah, so him and his buddy, they bailed each other out with the money that they won on the bet, and then they split the winnings, which ended up being like $150,000 or something like that.
Pretty good.
For the amount of money that they put down. It was awesome.
That prop bet's going to be taken off next year.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, the odds they'll be dropped. They'll be like minus 700 because it happened.
Well, if there's a loophole like that, why do it?
Yeah.
I think that's kind of the point Cam's making, right?
But Cam, you said you wanted to talk about
some ratings. The Super Bowl ratings have come out. Despite them being really good in Boston, they were 60 share in Boston, something crazy. The overall Super Bowl rating, 91.6 million, which is the lowest Super Bowl rating in 15 years.
Whoa.
The last Super Bowl rating to be that low was Super Bowl 40 between the Seahawks and the
Steelers. That was going to be my guess. People forget about that Super Bowl.
Now, my question for y'all is this COVID, ratings have been down all year because of COVID, or is
People
this
are tired
Brady
of watching
fatigue?
TV.
Do you guys think this is Brady fatigue?
I could be a little bit of that.
Might be a little bit of both, to be completely honest. You think about it in the last year, we're coming up on the 1-year anniversary when the whole freaking world shut down, which is bananas to think no.
It's hard to believe it's not been a year already.
Exactly. It feels like it's been 5 at this point.
But it also feels like it's been 2 weeks at the same time.
No, it has not been.
No, it feels like it. I can still vividly remember. When you vividly remember something.
Yes.
I
feel like it was yesterday we went to that Worcester Railers game, Cam.
Yeah.
Literally like last weekend.
But yeah, Cam, to your point, I do think it does have to do a little bit with the fact that it's TV fatigue. People for the last year have been trapped inside their house. There's not as much interest to sit down on a Sunday night and watch a football game. That a normal football game, which is about 3 hours, gets expanded and it becomes a 5-hour game just because of the sheer marketing and the advertisements that get put into these games. But
there was not many good Super Bowl commercials.
No, I think I can maybe count 3 that were good.
Dude, they haven't been good in like a while, I feel.
A couple years, yeah.
I feel like they used to be dynamite. Even when the Patriots were playing, I'd be like, oh, that was a good commercial.
Did you happen to catch the My Cousin from Boston one?
Where they mocked Budweiser?
They mocked Budweiser. My Cousin from Boston was walking down a sidewalk and he saw the Budweiser Clydesdales hooked up outside, and he went over and he pulled the pin, and the Clydesdales just take off down the street and they start running people over and doing stuff or whatever. That was
actually the one commercial I did like, and it's funny because I don't even drink beer. I thought the Bud Light commercial was grade A mint. They had like all the callbacks. They had Cedric the Entertainer, Bud Knight, the Real Men of Genius ads, which I love. I love the Real Men of Genius ads. They had all the callbacks, and then they killed the Bud Knight again. He's like died for like the 5th time.
Yeah. They had the life gives you lemons, and they had lemons falling from the sky too. That was pretty good. That was decent.
I didn't mind the Paramount Network.
Oh, I hated that.
Service. That was whack, dude.
Those were some weird ones. So
what are we doing here?
Well, because CBS owns Paramount Network. Why not shill it?
So, all right, fellas, what do you say we throw it to our interview?
No, I got 2 things.
Okay.
And we can. So, number 1, how about that halftime show?
I was okay.
Weekend killed it.
I like the Weeknd's music. Some of the stuff in it was weird, but it's
the
a Super Bowl
halftime
thing. That's what it's going to be.
Was whack.
The mirror room it's already the biggest meme on the planet.
It was great. Literally like 10 minutes after it was a meme. But it gave me a headache. It was like he was bringing it all around town. It was crazy. But great performance. I thought he did fantastic. But I'm a Weeknd.
The other question for y'all is, it's only happened one time in history. Are we going to get a Super Bowl rematch the year after? What do you guys think?
No. I think Tampa Bay gets back.
Oh, that's a bold statement.
I think Tampa Bay gets back.
That's the take, huh?
But he's not a Bucs fan.
I think
but he's not a Bucs fan. He's Patriots.
He's not a Bucs fan.
Just because of Tom Brady and his sheer ability to lead and show what it takes to win. Think about all the stuff that Brady had to go through this year. No offseason, going into a new team, learning a new offense, whatever. Yeah, I'm sure he had a lot of impact and the ability to kind of run that offense how he wanted to.
Ian's the type of guy to pick the team that just won the championship to win again.
No,
Bucs fan all my life, bro.
ESPN has Kansas City as the odds-on favorite to win the Super Bowl next year. So you want to talk about
because they're still a really good team.
Okay.
They got Mahomes. Nobody's really leaving Kansas City.
Okay, who's gonna leave Tampa Bay other than maybe like Antonio Brown?
There's cap space in the.
Maybe he ain't leaving. Maybe he leaves. He's not coming back. No other team would want him.
It's true. But I don't know. I just don't think they're going to be as good.
Brady Brown needs that calming element in his life, and apparently that's Brady. So who knows what he'd do anyway.
Maybe he's got some weird diet thing from the TB12 method that Brady's
All I'm saying, guys, is my Lord and Savior, Jarrett Stidham. God bless his arm, leading us to the Super Bowl next year. Let's go.
Hey, Tommy Boy comes up here next year in the fall.
How much are those tickets going to go for?
I don't know, fellas.
We ain't going.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Hey, if we can go, I will pay an arm and a leg. I will sell a kidney on the black market. I'll do whatever it takes.
$1,000 a pop.
Even for like the biggest, even for the highest seat in the damn stadium
of Gillette Stadium.
Dude, I'll sit in the light stanchions above the stadium. I'll hang from. Give me a harness and a freaking grapple and a hook. I'll hang there the whole game. I don't care. But all right, fellas, let's get to our interview. The Titletown Takes PA train carries on. We're going from St. Louis to Nashville, which Nashville broke out their reverse retros on Monday night, which I was a fan of. We'll get more into that a little bit more as we've seen some teams break these out in games. But we have an interview with the public address announcer for the Nashville Predators, Paul McCann. We'll be back on Titletown Takes right after this. All right. Today's guest is a Pennsauken, New Jersey native. He is the co-owner and co-host of Slapshot Radio, which can be heard on Wednesday nights at 7 p.m. Central. He moved to Nashville in 1988 with his wife because of, as he put it, its obvious music history. He auditioned for his current role in the summer of 2006 and began that fall. He is known for his demonstrative delivery, alerting fans at Bridgestone Arena their team is on the power play, as well as wishing fans good night and good hockey on their way to the exits. It is our pleasure to welcome to the Titletown Takes podcast the public address announcer for the Nashville Predators, Paul McCann. Paul, thanks for joining us.
Ian, you have absolutely done your homework. I'm impressed.
The PA announcers like your intros, Ian.
Hey, as a fellow PA guy, I kind of feel it's my duty to do them justice when they come on.
Also, I like the hat.
Thank you. My aunt got it for me on a road trip down to Nashville a few years back, and I felt it was appropriate for tonight for some strange reason.
Absolutely.
See, that's funny, and you say that because my dad went to Nashville like 2 years ago, and I didn't get jack.
Well,
we'll have to go down again, Paul.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That just means we have to take a road trip, and that's
all.
Connor, we've talked about this before. I've said that Nashville is one of the places that I need to go see a hockey game, and this is before the
COVID
Cup final run a few years back and all that. I mean, it's an unbelievable party atmosphere down there for a hockey game. But Paul, like I said, thanks for joining us, man. Let's just jump right into it. Take us back to wherever you feel you want to start and how you got into broadcast announcing, and pick a spot where you want to start and just take it from there.
Well, actually, got started on PA and broadcast in high school. Did PA for my high school basketball and football, and did radio. I've actually been in radio since I was about 17 years old. Local radio stations in South Jersey. Then when I went to college in DC, college radio, college sports broadcasting, things like that. And was actually a nightclub DJ for about 10 years.
Hey,
just like Jeff K.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, but it's a lot different now, man. You're not manipulating petroleum products like you used to
It's all on a computer.
Yeah, exactly. Although I have been playing with a couple of the little DJ apps, so they're kind of interesting, that's for sure. But moved to Nashville with my lovely bride. We had a choice in the nightclub industry of going to several different cities. We decided to come to Nashville about 33 years ago now. And Nashville at that point was a lot different than it is right now. No professional sports, and really at the very beginning of trying to grow the city. And did some radio here until my wife and I decided to have a child. And we kind of looked at each other and said, you know what, it's kind of time to get a little more serious about this. And went the business route. And about, like Ian said, about, 14 years ago, I got asked to help out on a local radio station because It was a small sports station just getting started. And I kind of felt bad for the morning guy that was just, begging for phone calls and struggling for things to talk about. So I started calling in just to give the guy a break, and ended up co-hosting the Predators pregame on this as a, literally as, one of the only people in town that grew up watching hockey. There was a small, deeply twisted hockey base that the Predators got started with, going all the way back to the Nashville South Stars and the Dixie Flyers. And you look at it, really does have a deep hockey history in Nashville. So when the Predators came to town, immediately I was the shame of my family and threw over my original Flyers fandom, and became an 82 game a year Flyer, an 80 game a year Flyer fan, and took the Predators under our wings. Our family was original season ticket holders for the Flyers in the first year in the late 60s. I can remember going to games at the Spectrum, and we've been charter season ticket holders for the Predators here in Nashville for going on 23 years. So at that point, I was a season ticket holder. I was doing some things on radio, and the PA announcer job opened up, and I kept bugging guys on the Predators saying, I just want to do a preseason game just for grins, check off the bucket list, have some fun with it. And they asked me to audition, and, here we are 14 years later. And it's a dream gig. It's a lot of fun. It really, and Nashville has just grown into such a hockey market. At times where I think the Predators at some points were even more popular than the Tennessee Titans, which is saying something in a market in Tennessee. But, a lot of people love a winner. And once the Predators started winning on a consistent basis and building that team, I think you saw a lot of culmination in the 2017 run to the finals. It's funny, I drew a lot of comparisons on my radio show between this previous the Stanley Cup final that just finished. I saw was very, very similar to the 2017 final, with Dallas playing the Nashville role and Tampa playing the Pittsburgh role, and even ironically Dallas I believe losing the cup on a really, really bad call. So there's a certain irony to that Buffalo fans certainly can empathize with, but no, it's been a great run. The Predators organization is a dynamite group. They really care fiercely not only about the sport, but they care fiercely about the market as well. It's been an incredible honor to do this for 14 years, and I'm hoping to be able to do it for 14 more, at least.
You said you grew up a Flyer fan, so I'm guessing that the infamous or the famous voice in Philadelphia kind of, was the first one you heard as a young kid. And Lou Nolan, was he, safe to say, someone that maybe pushed you in that direction?
Well, actually, it would be another. Lou Nolan has been the voice of the Flyers in my mind. The voice of live hockey in Philadelphia, obviously since the mid '70s, and honestly, getting to talk to him, having him on my radio show, and him sending me a signed copy of his book were just absolute highlights. I've yet to meet him face to face. I still hope to do that, but voices like Lou Nolan, like Dan Baker, who used to do the Eagles and the Phillies, still does the Phillies. And the one that really did it for me was the Philadelphia 76ers announcers, one of the few PA announcers that actually has their microphone retired. There is a banner in the Wells Fargo Center for Dave Zinkoff, the former PA announcer for the Philadelphia 76ers, had such a unique delivery, and he really was the one that not only I would say I get a lot of my style from, certainly had an influence, that's for sure.
So take us through your first game as a PA guy. I mean, we kind of asked this to everybody, but we have a couple questions that we've kind of asked everybody. We feel like everybody has such a unique way of getting to the stage that is PA announcer in the NHL, and you guys are also, you guys, the PA brotherhood, you guys bring it up all the time, and how much of a tight-knit group you guys have. So we like to get these stories out there. So, kind of take us through how you really got the job, and take us through your first game. Was there any hiccups, or did it go kind of smoothly for you?
Well, I mean, the funny thing about it is that, the hiccups come kind of later on. The first couple of games, you're so damn terrified that, the problems come when you get a little more comfortable, quite frankly.
Comfortable.
You look at it, I was, as I bugged a couple of the senior leaders of the Predators at that point, and there was different ownership at that point of the Nashville Predators. And I kind of bugged them I wanted to do one preseason game.
Right.
And they turned around and said, hey, how about if you audition? And I'm sitting here going, yeah, right. Okay. So went in, auditioned, and basically said, oh, screw it. Let's let it all hang out and see what happens. And they liked it. They asked me if I, after auditioned with against about 10 other guys in Nashville, and ended up getting the gig. And it was funny because I can remember the first couple of games just being terrified. Just, don't curse into the mic, Paul. Don't curse into the mic. Because part of the thing is I'm a huge hockey fan. And it's one of the things that gets challenging about the role is to maintain your professionalism without, losing your fandom. And it's funny because, I look at those first couple of games and it was just me trying to find a rhythm,
right.
Because the fans in Nashville have always been highly involved. There's a section in Bridgestone Arena called the Cell Block, Section 303.
303.
They were originally a group of Detroit auto workers that moved down to Nashville when the Saturn plant was here. So a large chunk of Nashville Predators season ticket holders were Detroit Red Wing fans.
Really?
Yes. So what's really interesting, and honestly, a lot of the chants that you hear in Bridgestone Arena, some of them really originated at Yost Arena at the University of Michigan. You've got a lot of these guys. I mean, the introduction of the players with the word "sucks" after it.
Yeah.
That's directly out of Yost Arena. How much time is left in the period is out of there. So they brought a lot of the collegiate hockey experience to Nashville. So Section 303, they were the ones that I really wanted to play with first, to try and get into a rhythm, to try and to make sure that I was able to give them their quote unquote cues in order to have some fun. And that's been the fun part about it. But I think really the one of the biggest things that happened is when the Predators signed J.P. Dumont, that just became a signature call for me, just real emphasis on the initials and holding the do out for quite a while. I mean, that was one of the first, kind of signature calls, and I was able to repeat it when PK Subban was brought to the team as well. And the fun part about that is actually the first year that PK came to town, JP was a co-host on Slapshot Radio, so he would just give me all kinds of grief about stealing baseball
That's
for PK,
awesome.
For PK. But when you look at I look at the beginnings, and I never really got in trouble until I kind of thought I was there. And then all of a sudden, I see a call, and I think I know that's a call on the opponent. So I start to wind up into the power play call, and all of a sudden I see a Predator go into the box. I'm saying, oh no. And even till, the funny thing about it is even to the playoffs last year, with our second game, Big and Rich were doing our anthem. And my introduction read genre-bending duo. And for some reason, I said gender-bending duo.
Oh. And now, these gender-bending multi-platinum superstars look the music scene by storm and never looked back to sing tonight's national anthem. Please welcome Big and Rich.
Oh, no.
On national television. So yeah, when the problems always come when you take your eye off the ball. When you're really nervous, when you're really when you're deeply focused on it, it's not a problem. But if you take your eye off the ball and say, I got this. This first round of the playoffs, no big deal. Yeah, that's when you get in trouble.
That's too funny. Yeah, you bring up, excuse me, you bring up the college hockey atmosphere, and the three of us, we've had this conversation off air and whatnot, just amongst ourselves. It's like, whenever we turn the TV on and there happens to be a Nashville game on, it's like, you know, we really relate it, like you said, to a college hockey game, especially up here in the Northeast.
Oh, yeah.
You know, Hockey East is, I would say,
It's a
probably
big deal.
It's a big deal. And, you know, you go to all the different barns up here and all the different student sections have their own unique little chants. And, you know, it's just for a specific example, the Bean Pot, when you get all four of the Boston schools there, the student sections just rip into one another with chants throughout the duration of the game. And it's unbelievable to go and experience something like that. And I mean, it's one of the reasons why I think Nashville has been so successful as far as a franchise is concerned. Yeah, they might have struggled a little bit, but it was only to try and find their footing and come up with a atmosphere and a production for a game that fits the environment that they're in.
We also had a deeply twisted game ops director for quite a few years that was never afraid to take chances, was never afraid to let me throw this up on the screen and see what happens kind of thing, was never afraid of the water cooler moment. And it's really funny because the gentleman's name is Brian Campbell, was the game ops director in Nashville for about 10 of my 14 years behind the PA mic. And I have to tell this story. It was my second year, and we were playing Edmonton on a Tuesday night. Now, Edmonton at that point was not just bad. They were epically bad.
Was that the Ryan Whitney years? Because that might explain a lot.
Could be.
Could have been.
But so we're literally beating the ever-living snot out of them. We're up like 7-8-0, and with about a minute to go in the game, I hear Brian in my ear in the comm just snickering, and I'm like, oh God, he's got something on his mind. And you could just hear him going, oh, come on, give me a stoppage. Oh, come on, give me a stoppage. About 10 seconds later, we get a stoppage, and he throws a video up on the Jumbotron of Forrest Gump at the end of his run. Remember, he's got the scraggly hair. Yeah. He's exhausted. He's tired. And he's just staring out at the crowd. And you can barely hear a peep in the crowd. And he's just staring out, and all of a sudden he goes, I'm tired. Think I go home now. And then cuts to a pan of the Edmonton bench.
Oh,
I swear they all looked like Forrest Gump at that point. I have never heard 17,000 people laugh so hard.
Oh, man.
It's the kind of genius that our game ops has shown at times in our history. Just that, not afraid to take a chance, not afraid to believe me, we've had plenty of things fall on its face too. But you got to take chances in order for that to happen.
So what's the flip side to that? What's one that really bombed?
Oh God, Ron's gonna kill me for using this one. Our game ops director for a couple of years in the middle was a guy by the name of Ron, and Ron's a great guy. He had this great idea. One of the things that we do, we wanted to come up with a skit to go along with Queen's "We Will Rock You." So, and we literally had people with signs saying "stomp" and people with signs saying "clap." So literally it was kind of stomp, stomp, clap, stomp, stomp, clap. I mean, everyone just looked at the folks holding up the cards and went, really? I mean, just bombed completely. I mean, we're all looking at each other. So, of course, whenever we want to give Ron shit, all we have to do is say, stomp, stomp, clap.
That's awesome.
Oh, my.
You can't write that stuff.
Paul, we asked this to everybody. Have you had any interesting interactions with players, officials?
Oh, God.
Team management that you could tell us?
Oh, sure. Absolutely. I could tell that I was in a different world in my first year. around the event level where the locker rooms and the media room and all that are, they usually have TVs set out, and whatever sports happens to be on at the time, they'll put on. Well, it's a Saturday night. It's in the fall. College football on all the TVs. So I'm standing there watching a little bit of the college football game, and I don't know if you ever feel somebody just kind of come up beside you, right? And I just keeping watching the game, said, hey. And he was like, hey, how you doing? Okay, I'm good. Not looking. Okay. Arizona's in town. Well, they were Phoenix at the time. And I looked to my left, and I'm sitting there casually chatting with Wayne Gretzky.
Whoa!
I mean, I looked at that and went, oh, you got to be kidding me. I mean, it was just, it really was just an amazing experience because, I was like, inches away from falling to my knees and pulling a Wayne's World. We're not worthy, because I'm sitting, literally standing right next to the great one. But no, I've gotten, and in Nashville, a lot of the country stars come out. I mean, it's really funny. I think I knew that I was kind of accepted when my oldest son graduated from Belmont University here in Nashville, and he does the show with me as well, which is kind of fun having your son do a show with you. But at his graduation, their speaker was Vince Gill, who is a huge sports fan, huge Belmont supporter. Has season tickets for the Preds right by the Zamboni entrance. I mean, literally we are sitting over one of the vomitoriums and, they're doing the procession out and all of the teachers and everything come out and here's Vince Gill walking next to the president. And Vince Gill literally looks up at me and goes, hey, Paul, 1 minute to go. And my family looked at me like, really? Vince Gill? Really? So those are the kind of brushes with greatness that I've been lucky enough to have with the Predators in this role.
You're the third person to have an experience with Wayne Gretzky. Ryan Mill had one. He had one when they.
He had one with Mario. He had one with Mario.
Oh, sorry, Mario. Sorry. So second Wayne Gretzky. Because who was the other? It was. Was Tom telling us this earlier when Wayne Gretzky was shooting the puck into the?
Yeah.
Oh well, Tom called his games, for heaven's sakes.
Yeah.
I mean, I wasn't lucky enough to be able to call his games.
Yeah, but that's certainly a unique moment there.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned the country stars.
That was Rossi who did that, Ian.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm getting.
Come on, Ian.
They're all blending together at this point.
Us PA announcers, we're all like,
the brotherhood, baby, represent.
But you brought up the country music stars. I think the most interesting thing was, especially during the Cup final run, was every night the big question around the arena was, who are the Preds bringing out tonight to sing the anthem? And it was great. And obviously there was a organizational connection with Mike Fisher at the time, whose wife is Carrie Underwood. So that was certainly unique there. What was it like to be able to introduce some of the great country music stars that,
I've really, it's funny. I've gotten to introduce these great country music stars, but the funny part about it is my first year as the PA announcer, it's funny because everyone thinks that Carrie Underwood's connection with the Predators was Mike Fisher. The reality is she used to come to games all the time with her two friends, Kelly Pickler and Taylor Swift. And they would sit in the front, on the glass, on the front row, just going bonkers. We used to call them the hockey hat trick. We put them up on the Megatron. I mean, all of that. It was really funny. So, I mean, they've been coming to games forever. Reba, I was lucky enough. My son was able to play hockey with Reba McEntire's son. You look at the introductions of Vince Gill, of all of these, these country music stars it really has been amazing. It's been it's been one of those things that you really, underestimate in a role like this. But I do have to tell you though, one of my most favorite brushes with greatness has been getting to see a rock and roll Hall of Famer. We have a band that plays between periods, and 9 times out of 10 the band is a house band that we have called Small Time Rock Stars. These are members of a country group called Six Wire that they do all kinds of studio work in Nashville. They're part of Lee Greenwood's backup band. I mean, these guys have been around forever. They're incredible musicians. So one night about 11 years ago, I come in to do my pregame ritual, look at, go through my script, all of that. I'm in the control room and I hear the band warming up and they're doing sound check. And the the interesting piece is they're playing School's Out by Alice Cooper. Now, I have kind of a pantheon of rock and rollers that I would love to meet. Any living Beatle, Bruce Springsteen, and then Alice Cooper. Was a huge Alice Cooper fan throughout the 70s. I've seen him God knows how many times. So I look at my director. I'm like, man, Small Time Rock Stars sounds awesome doing the Alice Cooper. He goes, no, that's really Alice Cooper. I went, get the out of here. He goes, no, that's Alice Cooper. I turned from 50-year-old man to 15-year-old in about 4 seconds. I run out of the control room, run through the Zamboni tunnel, look up on the stage, and sure enough, there's Alice. And I'm going nuts. Now, come on, a normal, mature individual would calmly walk to the elevator, calmly go up to the next floor, walk to the stage and say, gosh, I'd love to meet Alice. Would it be cool? No, not me. I jump over the rail. I run up the aisle. I mean, I think zits broke out on my face. I mean, it was just insane. And, meeting Alice is one of the highlights of the different people that I've gotten to introduce. And he ended up playing on stage that night, did a couple of Alice songs, played with Vince Gill for a little bit. It was the beginning of something that we call only in Smashville moments. We've had Tommy Shaw from the Styx. From Styx play. We've had John Elefante, the former lead singer of Kansas, play. I mean, all of these different stars that will sit in with Small Time Rock Stars. That's one of the most fun things about what we do.
That's awesome.
That brings up a good point of, we were just kind of talking about it with, Section 303, and then we transitioned into talking about all these artists performing in Nashville. But I mean, from your perspective, Paul, being a part of it, how has that kind of evolution of Nashville Predators hockey and that kind of only in Smashville type experience from when you got there in 2005 to now, how has that evolution kind of been for you to kind of be right there in the front doorstep of that?
It's kind of fun being kind of, in a lot of respects, being the ringmaster. It is a lot of fun on that. I will tell you, it's been, one of those things that, I still look at and go, I'm just a guy that talks into a microphone, for heaven's sakes.
Right.
And it's a riot. I'll get an email at work saying, hey, can I get this? Thanks, Paul. I mean, things like that happen all the time. And I'm lucky enough to, to be able to do this. And like I said, it's really a dream gig. It's one of those things that I could, I've had a great run so far. I still want to make sure. I mean, I've been lucky enough to be able to introduce the Stanley Cup. The fact that I had to make sure to introduce it for the Penguins really bugged me. But, I knew that would go over well in Boston. But
it's all right. We had to listen to Jim Martin last year present it to the Blues, so.
Trust me, I was not happy about that either.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, wait a minute, and this year, and I know, I think you guys have talked to Jeff in Dallas, right? You've talked to Jeff Kay?
Yes, we have.
And I love Jeff to death. He's become a friend, and it's funny as hell. But I was sitting there going, "Oh, I can't handle another Central Division team winning a damn cup. No.
So let's swing it back a little bit. Yeah, we know you had to present the Stanley Cup, and that was a bit unfortunate. But what was it like Nashville winning the Western Conference Final against Anaheim on home ice? You get the late goal with 10 minutes left, take the lead, and you take it all the rest of the way. What was that like?
Yeah, it was surreal. That's the only word I can come up with. I've been lucky enough to be able to announce the Predators' first series win. I've been able, and also against Anaheim. And that 17 run was just, it was the right thing coming together at the right time. You had, you just had players stepping up. You had our game ops team took it to another level. Everyone in the organization took it to another level. It was a shame that we didn't get to lift that cup. It really was. But that's it. I can remember looking outside, and that Game 6 night, the thing that will always stick with me was that the scene on Broadway and the scene around Bridgestone Arena that night. That Sunday of the Game 6 was the final night of the CMA Music Festival.
Oh man!
Now the CMA Music Festival brings 100,000 fans into town every year. So you had that 100,000 fans that normally would fill Broadway to begin with.
Wolf.
Then you had Game 6 on that last Sunday of CMA Fest. You had Alan Jackson on stage outside playing. You had, literally almost 200,000 people outside surrounding Bridgestone Arena. It was just an unbelievable experience to have that entire city come together and just show that, hey, you know what? We survived. We made it through the bad times. Now we're here for the good times. And, the good news about it is this team has continued since that cup win. They've continued to sell out every home game, wow. which really says something about this market and its growth and its potential for even more growth, because we've got an organization that wants to see this market continue to deepen, continue to grow. And, we've got to do things just a little bit differently, but the fan base has grown from the first few years having to announce offsides and icing and really explain what was going on. And now, it's like this is one of the more knowledgeable hockey bases that you're going to find. These guys know the game, and they're pretty proud of their knowledge. And whenever anyone tries to do the, oh yeah, Nashville, oh hee-haw, all that crap, it's like, we always joke about Chicago fans because when they were good, and we still like to remember that we swept them out of the playoffs in 2017.
Stuck on that, Chicago.
Oh, I absolutely. And you know what I've often found? That wearing a Preds jersey on the Magnificent Mile, carrying a broom, doesn't make you very popular in Chicago. But
I would not imagine.
But the funny part about it is, Chicago fans used to show up all the time. And, sometimes it was hard to hear them over the rustling of their crisp, brand new Patrick Kane jersey. But when you, I couldn't read it. When you look at that, though, the funny part about it is they'll go, oh, yeah, you guys haven't won any cups. We've won 3. And you look at them and go, no, you've won 6.
6.
And it's like they look at you like, oh.
Yeah, the Chicago Blackhawks existed before 2009, buddy. Nice.
Well, not that anyone would know it in between 1998 and 2008 because no one was showing up, but,
Right.
And the games weren't even on TV back then.
Yeah, well,
because the owner was not very good.
Yes. But you know what? You got to give them credit. They kind of put it together one more time this year. They got further than we did, so I've got to give them that credit. But that's a team that needed some rebuild.
Yes.
So Paul, I got to ask. We just talked to Phil Hewlett out in Anaheim.
Phil's a great guy. Good guy.
Connor's a big fan of him, and he asked him for a goal call. I got to ask. Can we get a power play call?
Power play call. All right. Well, you want the whole thing?
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Okay.
You're right.
Okay, no problem. All right. Your Nashville Predators are on the
power play.
And I appreciate that.
I'm glad I got to fill that one in.
Yeah, you knew what to do.
Ian, I wasn't gonna let you not do it.
Yeah, me neither.
You've been waiting for this forever.
Fair enough.
But Paul, to go off that, I think this is a pretty good transition for you as a PA guy. Did you kind of start with all these? I mean, you're one of the more pronounced PA guys in the National Hockey League. Did you start like that, or was it more of an evolution for you to kind of get more comfortable and kind of take those risks?
I don't think I was too reserved when I got started, but one of the things that I've kind of felt a little more comfortable to do, and it's funny because you really don't want to be a stand-up comedian. Yeah. You don't want that to happen, but you do want to you can in a sly way comment on the game. My wife Denise, who we just celebrated our 32nd wedding anniversary, and
cheers,
congratulations.
She is so supportive of this. She likes to say that when I call a penalty for the Predators, that my tone of voice is it's allegedly a penalty. That it's not really a penalty, but I have to call it, kind of thing. But I will say the funny thing about it is, and we laugh about this to this day because I have him on the show occasionally, former NHL ref Kerry Fraser. I can remember him coming up to the booth, and I'm just like, the hockey fan in me took over a little bit. And I'm just looking at him going, are you out of your freaking mind? How can you make that call? It's all coming across in my eyes. And he just stared me down like, don't you say it. And I went, okay, I think he could throw me out. I better not.
Yeah, it'd be kind of tough to all of a sudden have to go Nashville bench monitor to the public address announcer.
for giving Kerry Fraser crap. Yeah. That would be a little bit awkward.
Yes, a little bit.
Forever in the on the score sheet though. So
true.
Yeah.
That's a spin. That's a spin zone right there.
I might be able to do it once.
Yeah, but don't you wouldn't be behind a microphone again. I think that's.
Oh no, absolutely.
Yeah.
Maybe your last game ever, get your name on the score sheet. Walking to the sunset. See you later, Predators. It's like a 5-1. You're winning, and so you don't got to worry about it.
It's the old thing. What are they going to do? Fire me, right?
Yeah.
Wes McCauley, that call sucked, dude. Get the hell out of here.
It's really funny though, but because of my position, it's right between the penalty boxes. Yep. And some PA announcers are located on the media level, and actually that's becoming more and more the trend.
Yeah, Al Murdoch in Vancouver was telling us that because they're bringing in a lot of analytics stuff that they're starting to move guys up to press levels.
Exactly right. Which I mean, I have to admit, being between the benches being between the penalty boxes is just really, really incredible. But when you get that view at that point, when you see how hard these officials work, I mean, believe me, as a season ticket holder, as a hockey fan, oh my Lord, I just rain abuse down on any official that would dare call a penalty, kind of thing. But honestly, watching how hard these guys work, how much they skate, how much they really, really care about the game, it really has given me a different perspective on it. And now I don't question their parentage anymore. So,
So go ahead, Cam.
So you mentioned that you like Subban, Dumont, stuff like that, names you like to say.
Mm-hmm.
But what are some names that have given you some trouble over the years?
Oh, good heavens. You know what? It's funny because, Connor asked me a little bit about my first year. I do remember when the Vancouver Canucks were in town. And at that point, current coach of the Flyers, Alain Vigneault, was their coach. Mm. And I'll never forget in the opening, I saw Alain Vigneault. I read that to myself. And for some reason, his name came out as Alex.
Oh.
Let's put it this way. I ended up with a blurb in the Vancouver Province the next day in the game story. And I looked at it, I said, oh man, this is serious. So it was, that's one of those ones you look at and go, okay. People are paying attention. Wait a minute.
Right.
That's funny. So just kind of going back again, I mean, I feel like this is a common theme here in relating, the environment down there to college hockey. We've done it so many times. The catfish is another unique aspect to Nashville. Up here in New England at UNH, prior to following the first goal of the night, one of the fraternities that's done it now for going on 35, 40 years now to this point, they head to the end of the rink where the visiting team goaltender is, and right over the short glass, they throw a big fish out onto the ice to symbolize fishing the puck out of the back of the net. And they'll tell the stories of, the bigger the game, the bigger the fish.
Yep.
If a smaller team, for our sake, like a Merrimack goes, they might get a little, might get a
minnow, yeah.
A minnow or something like that. But if it's like a main game, one time they got like a massive 8-foot flounder.
Oh, Lord.
Took that thing and chucked that sucker over the glass.
Yeah, but you can catch air with that. It'll go further,
Exactly.
That flat aerodynamics,
like a frisbee. A frisbee. But can you just tell us some stories about, the whole catfish thing? And I've heard stories about people sneaking it in their pants.
Oh, yeah.
During the cup run because they were sick and tired of getting catfish thrown in the ice during the middle of a game.
Well, I mean, the interesting piece is, and one of my pregame announcements every time is, ladies and gentlemen, please don't throw anything on the ice. And I think almost the implication is except catfish. But what happens is you've got a couple of folks. This started actually in our first playoff series against the Detroit Red Wings. First time we saw and it was our first playoff series. We had the Red Wings in town, and we got so tired of people bringing octopus into the rink and trying to throw an octopus on the Bridgestone Arena ice. And so a couple of folks got together and said, well, what can we do? We're Southern. We're catfish. It's perfect. So that's how it got started. It was an answer to the octopus that would get thrown occasionally, at a Detroit game. And what's really funny is that, when they'd send an ice girl out to get the catfish, and they'd have a blast with it. They'd swing it. They'd, pretend it's swimming off the ice. And the funny thing about it is, you talking about the bigger the game, the bigger the fish. I can remember, a good 30-pound catfish being thrown out onto the ice, and oh my God, it was a mess. I mean, it just splattered. It probably took a good 5-6 minutes to clean up. But I mean, that's just one of the traditions. And honestly, the one that still gives me chills to this day is the TV timeout standing ovation. And a lot of people don't see that because if you're watching it from home, you really don't, they're at commercials while this is going on. But what ends up happening, especially in big games, or if the crowd feels like the team needs a lift, we'll get the TV timeout, and all of a sudden the crowd will literally rise as one and start cheering. And they will cheer the entire TV timeout.
That's awesome.
And I mean, it's funny because when it first was going on, I can remember the first one. It was the season after the sale. It was the 07-08 season. And I always call the 07 year kind of the year from hell for Nashville hockey fans. It was the year that Jim Balsillie was going to try and buy the team and move them to Windsor, move them to Canada. And, the whole thing. And then he was going to buy it, not move them to Canada. And, well, after all of that went on, local ownership stepped up. They bought the team. They really started, and it started to turn around. And it was a Columbus game late in that season. And we were looking like we were going to make the playoffs. But all of a sudden, at the last TV timeout of the third period, everyone just started cheering. I mean, and it just spontaneously happened, and it built, and it built, and it built. And it's funny because I have a blog that I write on Hockey Buzz as well. I've been writing that for 16 years now. And I still have the blog about that night. And I always look at it and say it was Nashville saying, we're still here. It was Nashville thanking the local ownership for stepping up and believing. And quite frankly, it was Nashville giving the middle finger to anybody that said hockey didn't belong in Music City. So, and that became a tradition that it just seems like whenever the team needs a lift, the crowd will rise up and cheer their heads off for an entire one. And I will tell you, more times than not, you end up with a goal in the next minute or two.
That's awesome.
It's kind of crazy the impact fans can have. And, I mean, you see it in the playoffs in particular, and that was kind of one of the sucky parts of, the quarantine and what COVID brought along.
Right.
But for you, Paul, from your perspective, I mean, we're right in the thick of the best part of the hockey season. In March, we have a couple weeks until the playoffs. Everyone's going to kind of get ramped up for that, especially Predators. We're on a playoff push. How is that all for you? I mean, you go from working hockey games every other night or so, and then you go to work in nothing. So and then to watch your team play up north in Edmonton, and you have to watch from home. How was that whole experience for you?
That was not what I would call fun. But
yeah.
I mean, the reality is that it was what it was. It's just how we had to do it.
Yep.
So in something like this, I'm sorry, I'm trying to turn a light on here, but it's in a situation like this, I was just thrilled to have hockey back. So we got to a lot of the PA announcers got to do their goal calls, do their announcements, do the things that we were used to doing. So you heard there's 1 minute remaining in the period, and a crowd of actual Predator fans yelling out, "Thanks, Paul." You heard my power play call, or the some other things like that, some things that were very, very specific to Nashville. So I have to give the NHL just boatloads of credit, because pulling this off was just an amazing thing. And the funny thing about it is, pulling this off may have been an amazing thing. Trying to do it with a regular season, it's probably going to be 3 times as hard.
Yeah. Right, because you have to include that many more teams.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's just going to be insane. But you also brought up, we talked about some funny stories and interactions off the ice. You brought up Wayne. And what about in between in the penalty boxes? Any funny stories or crazy stories of players going in the penalty box and anything like that?
I will not use names to protect the guilty.
Okay.
But I have watched a hockey player, pick up a woman from the penalty box.
Oh,
wow.
I have watched that, and it was hysterical, especially at the point where the player was in the box chatting this girl up. She was obviously interested. He literally looked at her and said, "I'll be right back." Went back out onto the ice and found the first Predator he could find and started cross-checking the ever-living crap out of him, looking around to see if the ref was looking at him. Ref finally saw him, and after the 6th or 7th cross-check, he got another 2 minutes. Literally came back into the penalty box, and I swear to you boys, he just turned to the side and said, "Now, where were we?"
What a legend.
Oh my.
It was that was one of the more interesting things I've heard. Incredible combinations of curse words that I didn't think were possible. You guys, I mean, okay, you're in the Boston area. I have heard Patrick Marchand do some serious trash talking.
Oh yeah, that's what he does
in the box.
Yeah, that's what Marshy does.
Yes, he does.
That's my favorite player, so I love hearing it.
We love it as Bruins fans. I'm sure everybody else.
Oh, you kidding me? I'd love to have him.
Tom told us a story, and I'll just tell you Cliff Notes. 1993, it's Blues Red Wings in the playoffs. There's a line brawl, and Bob Probert's the first one to get to the box after all the extracurriculars have calmed down, and there are 2 fans just getting at Bob, and Bob Probert. He had like 3,000 penalty minutes. He wasn't going to take no mess. He wasn't going to take no mess. He starts to stand up, and he's going to climb over the glass, and Tom grabs onto his pants and tries to keep him in the box. And Bob turns around, and he's like, "Don't ever do that again."
You don't want to do that.
And he's like, okay,
No
never
problem.
again. Yeah. I assume nothing like that's ever happened to you, but I think...
No, I haven't had anything where I've had to restrain somebody from going into the going into the crowd, and I don't know if I would. Well, it depends on which player, but no, it's funny. I've had players come into the box and then all of a sudden I'm getting jabbed with their stick, and I turn over and they look at me going, "Was that really a penalty?" I've had that happen God knows how many times, and honestly, I'll tell them if I think it is. I'll tell them if I think it wasn't. I'll tell them. I can remember PK Subban doing that once, and you're looking at a huge PK Subban fan here because he just was the nicest guy on the face of this earth, really was. And the funny thing about it is he'd come in and he'd look at me, he goes, "Was that a penalty?" I'd look at him, yeah, Subs, it was. He goes, "Man." But I mean, I've had that happen. You've had, players that will just, come in and start, just start chatting you up. "Hey, how you doing? What's going on? How's your summer?" "Oh, pretty good." I mean, so it's kind of interesting because it's hard to look at this as a workplace. We're there to have fun, but they're there to work, and have these conversations at work. So it's really it's really funny to see the more human side of these players. I mean, I can remember back in the lockout was right after the last lockout basically, and we're doing a charity event with one of our co-hosts, Brent Peterson, who may be familiar to some of you guys, former Hartford Whaler, was former assistant coach for the Nashville Predators, and has a foundation called Peterson for Parkinson's. Coach Peterson's been battling Parkinson's. He should have been a head coach in the National Hockey League, and the Parkinson's disease basically stole that from him. But he's a great guy. God, what a he's added such a dimension to Slapshot Radio. It isn't even funny. And when you look at the involvement of of the people like Brent Peterson, you look at we're at this function, and it is literally the next day the lockout is going to start, and a bunch of the players are there, and they're you could see how it was driving them nuts because the fans were like, "Hey, what's going on? What's going to happen? How are we going to do this?" And you could see how much it was driving them up the wall. But you could also see where it's like, "Hey, look, guys, we're trying to make things, as best as possible for ourselves, and we're sorry that it happens this way." But and they were able to say, "Hey, and we weren't the ones doing it," which kind of helped. But when you see that human side of the player, when you see that, you have to understand. I mean, not every day at work is going to be your best day. And sometimes it's a little hard to accept that from a 25-year-old Slovenian that maybe didn't score at that night. It can be kind of hard to accept that. So that's been one of my biggest things that I've learned, and looking at folks as more human beings and not just hockey players.
You brought up some of the characters and some of the really great people that as you talk about, they're regular people, but they just happen to be really good at playing hockey. Mm-hmm. And obviously, when you get guys that have been in a community or in an organization for pretty much the length of their entire career, they make a big impact. Can you just talk about the impact that Pekka Rinne has had on the city of Nashville? I mean, when we talked to Al Murdoch in Vancouver, we asked him about the Sedin twins and their impact there, just because they spent their entire career there. Rinne is in that same boat. Can you just kind of talk about Pekka?
Well, I'll start this off by saying that I believe that Pekka Rinne's number 35 will be the first number in the rafters at Bridgestone Arena.
Very much deservingly.
And not only for, a guy that's won the Vezina, a guy that, in a couple of different times just put this team on its back and willed them to win. You look, the contributions on the ice are absolutely obvious. It's the contributions off the ice, though, with Pekka. He put together back right about 2 years before Shea Weber was traded. They put together something called the 365 Cancer Foundation. Okay, and basically it was just a combination of their two numbers. And the amount of money that foundation has raised over the last 11, 12 years has just been unbelievable. And the dedication that Pekka Rinne has to it. I've done a couple of their events, and he comes to the events, but it's not, come to me and worship me, I am Pekka Rinne. It is like, look, I'm here for the kids. I'm here for this. I'm not here for the recognition. And when you see someone doing it out of their heart, I mean, and it's so obvious the affection Pekka has for the Nashville area, and I personally, one of my favorite Nashville Predators has been for a long time, and it's really interesting because I have been blessed to have called every hockey game that Pekka Rinne has played in Nashville. I have called it, which I am so incredibly honored and proud of, knowing that that if he's playing the game, I'm calling it. So it's fun that way. And I have to close this though on a story with Pekka. Back about, probably about 10, 11 years ago, there was a goaltending transition going on in Nashville. You had Chris Mason, who's now the Predators TV color analyst. You had Dan Ellis at that point. They were kind of battling it out for the number one. Well, Mace went down. Ellis wasn't I can't remember the other goaltender that was in. They had to call Pekka up on an emergency basis. And so there was a snowstorm in Milwaukee. He gets to Bridgestone Arena at like 5:30. His equipment never shows. So he's, basically he was there to play. So they end up putting Dan Ellis in, instead of Rinne. Ellis throws a shutout against the Blackhawks, goes on this incredible tear, grabs the number one at that point. And I could just remember the look on Pekka's face coming off that elevator, that elevator between periods, just like, oh my God, I should be out there. But, it was behind the eyes. You could tell that he was upset about it, but couldn't have been nicer to everybody down there. And that always sticks with me that Mother Nature kind of dealt him a bad hand. But 4 months later, that net was his, and he has yet to relinquish it, except for this year. And I think he's okay with splitting it going forward with the UC Saros.
So next time you meet up with Dan Ellis, if you ever do, you're gonna have to ask him. Did you send Rinne's gear the other way to play this game?
Believe me, we've already asked him that.
We've got this gear. Oh yeah, just throw it over there.
No, that's supposed to go to St. Louis. Yeah, that's it.
Put it in the storage closet over there and pretend it never showed up.
Oh, look what I found.
Just a quick follow up on that, because you just brought it up. How do you think, and you talked about Rinne being a guy that overall he cares for, the success of others around him as much as he does himself. How has he kind of handled, the current goaltending situation going on with him in Saros? I mean, he's getting a little bit older, and you mentioned he seems to be okay with it. Has he kind of taken him under his wing and kind of?
Oh yes, absolutely. See, they're both, they're both from Finland.
Both Finns, yeah.
And honestly, Saros has been Pekka Rinne was on his first couple of masks as a young goaltender. He always has looked up to him as a hero. So it's funny because we kind of joke, and how you do with different players, you start putting in your own dialogue. And, so of course we are, Rinne's dad and Saros' son, but honestly, Rinne has just been amazing. The two of them have a great relationship because they push each other. When one's doing well, it pushes the other one to do even better. So it's one of those examples of a really, really positive relationship that goes on between a couple of real competitors as far as that goes. But I know Pekka understands that the transition is inevitable, that there will be someone else manning the pipes in Nashville, and he's got one more year left on a contract. I don't know if he's going to, sign anymore or not. But I think the writing is probably on the wall that a change is coming. But, there's a couple of different players that could possibly have that number one. I mean, everyone assumes UC Saros, and honestly, he's a comer as far as a young goaltender goes. But also keep your eyes on a young goaltender by the name of Connor Ingram. He was a first-round draft pick of the Tampa Bay Lightning. Didn't really work out in Tampa. They gave up on him very, very quickly. And he was dominant at times in the AHL last year with that same kind of situation. So the goaltending pipeline is actually in pretty good shape in Nashville.
I actually did a Nashville GM mode save the other day, so I'm pretty aware of who's who. So
you got the prospects
when you mention Ingram, I'm like, oh yeah, I know who that is.
Yeah. And I'll tell you what, the AHL usually has that Sunday afternoon game on NHL Network, and they're usually in Chicago all the time. And so I caught quite a few Chicago-Milwaukee games last year. And this Ingram kid's the real deal. He reminds me a lot of Carter Hart. Reminds me a whole bunch of Carter Hart. Has that same confidence, that same attitude. I think, Nashville got a steal possibly with that one.
Well, Paul, we can't thank you enough for taking some time out of your evening and joining us here. We hope you enjoyed this as much as we did.
Oh, absolutely.
Where can people find you on social media to reach out and connect with you?
Absolutely. You can find me at PredPAPaul on Twitter. You can also follow our show, Slapshot Radio. It's at Slapshot Radio 1. Slapshot Radio is on every Wednesday night at 6 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Eastern. And you can stream it live on thegamenashville.com. And you can also go to our SoundCloud page and listen to any of our past episodes as well. And we've got 2 more episodes going on in this season. And actually, it's been our longest season ever. We normally take the summer off. But we are actually going to be ending up with a 55-show season, which we normally only do 40. So we're going to take a few weeks off. And as soon as NHL training camps open up, we'll be back on the air. Same bat time, same bat channel.
Awesome. Well, Paul McCann, the public address announcer for the Nashville Predators, joining us here on Titletown Takes. Thank you a lot, Paul. We'll be back here right after this. All right. Big thanks to Paul McCann, fellas. Another great interview in the books. In the pocket and out of sight, right, Wickman?
What Cameron said.
Out of sight.
Yep, great interview. Loved having him on. Another
that
great
Forrest Gump thing. I don't know. I remember that since the moment he told the story where I'm tired. I'm gonna go home now against a team that's down like 8-0. That's hilarious.
So
I loved hearing the power play call. We got one of those. I know Connor, you were excited when we got an Anaheim Ducks goal call from our buddy Phil.
Right.
But yeah, I love Paul, that chat with Paul. That was up there as one of my favorites.
We're running out of seats on the train here, boys.
We are running out of seats, but still got a couple more stops to make and a couple of good ones too. We're not going to drop anything else, but you guys can stick around and figure that out for yourselves. But Nashville's a great hockey market, fellas. We definitely got to get down there for a game. And they've had some big college hockey games down there as well. Merrimack actually took part in a game series down in Nashville against Alabama Huntsville back in the early 2010s, I think it was. I think it was either 2010 or 11.
What a matchup.
They went down to Nashville. But with that in mind, let's talk about the new USCHO poll that was released on Monday, February 8th.
Oh, it's a good one too, Ian. It's a good one.
We're not going to dive into it completely. We're going to drop the updated standings. You can take a look at it for yourselves down in the bottom corner of the screen. But just some changes. Denver's out of the top 20 poll for the first time since like 2014. That's a big change considering that they made the Frozen Four 2 years ago.
I mean, they just lost a lot of talent, man.
Yeah, they have. Lake State is trending in the right direction as well. Coach Borick's former school where he spent some time.
Shout out SP.
Connecticut, UConn, the Ice Bus is in the top 20 ranking for the first time in their program history.
Well deserved.
So shout out to them.
If that doesn't teach you to just scout Russian players, then I don't know what does.
Crap. Yeah, you want to talk about that. I mean, wow. Just some other notable names. Nebraska Omaha is in the top 10 as well. But just top 5 hasn't really changed much all year, fellas. Minnesota's dropped from 2 to 5. That's a little bit of a change. Duluth, Minnesota State is in there, and then North Dakota and BC are continuing to slug it out at the top of the poll. Those two teams haven't really done a whole lot as far as dropping or falling off the radar.
And I think the biggest change has been Minnesota jumping up really high because they've just been dominating.
Minnesota State, right? You're talking the Mavericks.
Minnesota.
Well, Minnesota actually fell. They were 2 last
Minnesota
week.
got smacked by Wisco. 5-1 and 8.
No, I know, but they were like not ranked.
Oh, okay, yeah. Fair point. Yeah,
that's the biggest change within the top 5. Other than that, it's been relatively the same 5 teams.
This whole college hockey season's had a lot of upsets. UConn beat BC, and then BC just lost to BU recently too. So
Battle of Comm for the first time this season.
That was fun.
Which also, can we talk about, fellas? Monday night would have been the Beanpot final.
They were showing Beanpot classics on NESN last night.
That's kind of the reason why I brought it up, is I got caught up watching some of that action last night on the
BU
TV.
upset against BC last year was sweet.
Yeah. But anyways, next year, fellas, Titletown Takes is going to take on the Beanpot.
We're going to do a whole video. It's going to be great.
We're going to take on the Beanpot next year, where we can get back and enjoy those first 2 Mondays of February the way that they're supposed to be enjoyed. Fellas, we want to talk a little Mac hockey too, because they pulled off an upset this past weekend on Sunday. They earned a split.
Yeah, the tale of two cities. Like,
yeah,
I'll tell you, I was driving home after Merrimack lost 5-1 the day before, and I'm like, wow, I thought we had gotten past this point. We can, where we can, hang with the teams that are the same and, or hang with the big teams and then maybe even beat the teams that are in the same thing. And then I'm driving home. I'm like, have we regressed to we can't even hang with teams that we should hang with or beat? And then the next day they just come out and slap them around.
Got you up, Cameron. Jeez.
I was like, dang, have we regressed? And it's like, no, it's Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde again. Yeah. All the teams that we like.
That's what I was going to say. All the teams that we root for, at least the Bruins, our hockey teams, Bruins and Merrimack, will play awful and then flip the script immediately and play really well.
Shout out Liam Walsh, his second multi-goal effort of the year. He won Hockey East Player of the Week alongside
Co-player of the week.
Co-player with Crookshank.
Yeah, he split it with Crookshank.
He's been balling, though, Liam Walsh. He's been doing everything. Power play, penalty kill. He's been dominant in the face-off. He has been good.
I think, too, Phil, the other thing we got to think about, too, is all the injuries that they currently have right now. Alex Jeffries is out. Logan Drevich is out. Jordan Vanel's out. Seifert been out all year. He won't be back. Yeah. They're battling a lot of injuries, but for them to go down to Providence, and, I mean, they've always played Providence well historically the last couple of years. They swept them last year to end the season, to go out on a high note. Good point, Cam. But, I mean, for them to earn a split this past weekend, it's good.
Yeah.
It's a lot to be proud of. It's a lot.
Not scheduled to play anybody this weekend, so that gives people a little bit more time to heal up and not worry about re-aggravating anything, or anybody that maybe in the lineup is currently battling something as a chance.
Yeah, that's actually a good point.
Healthy. But, I mean, there were two schools that four schools they haven't played, two of them in-state. They haven't played Lowell. They haven't played BU. They've played Northeastern 4 times. They've played BC twice. Amherst, it's been a gauntlet early on. They haven't played Maine or Vermont. Those are the only two schools out of state that they haven't played.
I think those two teams are we can get a good
even Lowell, man. Lowell's been
Yeah.
All out of sorts because Lowell's played and then they haven't played for like 3 weeks. And then they've played again and then they haven't played again.
Well, think of it this way in terms of Merrimack, right? I feel like we've had one game, maybe 2 games where we've had our full lineup. And it was against UNH last weekend. Or 2 weekends, I guess.
Yeah, 2 or 3. Yeah, 2 weeks at this point, right?
They got 3 points out of the weekend.
They got 4 points.
4, because you remember 3 points for a win now.
Yep.
Don't worry, I've done that too.
So, I mean, if you're Scott Borick, you don't want to, not try, but why not give all your players who are maybe at like 75% who could maybe play sit him out, rest him, because you made the playoffs. So if you have your full lineup, you have a pretty good team.
Yeah. Goaltending, I thought on Sunday was a strong point for them. Borgs played really well. Scott talked about it in his post-game press conference. He said that, he wouldn't say that they were upset that they couldn't get him the shutout. They obviously wanted to try and get the shut. I mean, they were 2.5 minutes away from it, but he also said that just speaks to Providence and their never quit attitude.
I think it's more important that they held back. On.
Exactly. They held on in a close game.
We've all seen Merrimack games where they go up big and then the other team slowly starts to chip away and they tie it. We've seen that a lot. Yeah. It's very important that they were able to hang on after some rough go at the end.
Show some character.
So, let's talk about our other boys. And how they're doing. Cam, you were talking to us the other day on Sunday at the women's game that you had a couple of points that you wanted to bring up about our boys in the black and gold. So I'll throw it over to you.
Yeah, okay.
Give you the floor.
Thank God you told me. I kind of forgot.
Yeah, and I'll respond as required off of that because I think.
All right. Okay. So me and Connor. It was the divisional round. It was Bucks Saints. I remember we were at Bertucci's. We were talking about the Bruins. And I brought up a couple of points that Connor agreed with me with. And one of those points was, and this is the main point, I felt that the previous year, last year, when the Bruins have a great team, there are those wow moments. There are those wow, this team is good moments. In 2011, there was the, they went down 2 games to none against the Habs and came back and won that. And obviously there was the rest. In 2013, first game of the season, you go down 3-0 to the Rangers or whatever, and you tie it up and you almost pull it off in overtime. It's like, wow, this team has something in them. And you can see it. Everybody can see it. When they happen because everybody agrees that they happen. Last year for me, the Bruins never had that wow factor. They never had that wow moment during the game.
Some pretty big leads. That was the only.
They had some pretty big leads at times. They beat the Habs 8-1. But I never felt like they were like in firm control. Like this team could dominate another really good team, bell to bell, 60 minutes, straight on, straight off. This year, there have been a lot of wow moments for Boston to start this season. They went down big to the Flyers. When I turned the game off and went upstairs and said, this team's terrible and blah, 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 they came back and they won that game. Against the Penguins, they went down, they forced overtime, and then, Craig Smith scored in overtime to win that one.
Damn straight, Smitty clutch.
Washington, you go down 3-0, 2 straight games, and then when you go down 3-0 in 2 straight games and you get 3 points out of those 2 games, that's pretty good. Pretty good. And then the Flyers game the Flyers game, they went down 3-1, Pastrnak hat-trick, they win it 4-3. And then, the last game against the Flyers, they went down 1-0. We're kind of in and out of it the whole way.
That was a boring game, if we're being honest.
To win it. Now, the big question I have is this team actually good? Is this team actually, fantastic, wow moments, great, great, great team? Or is it just this team gets into a lot of trouble, they manage to dig themselves out of it? Is that really sustainable over a 58-game period plus playoffs? That's the real question for me. Is it this team is really good, or is this team really lucky they can battle back, but it's not sustainable?
Well, here's my concern. Who's scoring the goals?
The same line that it's always been.
It hasn't changed. The Bruins have been winning because the top line's been scoring.
And the other stat that I meant to bring up here, just caught to my head now, the Bruins stats are as follows in periods. In the first period, they have 6 goals. In the second period, they have 7 goals. In the final period, they have 13 goals.
Which is good.
I said to Connor, I said, there's no such thing as a bad goal, and there's no such thing as a bad time to score a goal. Right. But you need it more spread out. Definitely the problem. Richie's kind of gone through a little bit of a cold streak. He hasn't scored in a couple of games. Hopefully he can get it back underneath. Craig Smith has been firing from everywhere. He's been just he'll be at the hash mark. He'll be at the outside hash marks. He's like, I'm gonna have a go.
I love it.
Fair play.
It's exactly what this team needs.
You need depth scoring, and you've had more of it than you had in the past. That's true. Start this year, but it needs to be throughout. It can't just be now. It needs to be throughout.
And that's my biggest concern is, I mean, we've seen this team the past, 3 years at this point. You can do it in the regular season. What's going to happen when Pastrnak, Marchand, and Bergeron go up against a good line in the playoffs and get shut down? What are you going to do?
Yeah.
You going to crumble?
I do want to bring up a point here. You guys brought off the offensive side of the puck. Can we just talk about how well that they've played on the back end here so far through 11 games?
I feel like it's been kind of hit and miss on the back end. I felt like they've played pretty good, but there have been some real head scratcher moments. I know that'll happen with the young decor. I'm not saying it won't, but when the Flyers scored their one goal the other night, Lauzon and McAvoy just did not pick up Van Riemsdyk, just standing in the slot when he tipped the shot by Tuukka Rask. And then, there was that bad giveaway. Krejci back to Zaboral. Zaboral couldn't handle it, gave away the penalty shot. Rask came up big, got the stop. But, mistakes are going to happen, but they've seemed like they've covered nicely so far. So they'll improve and grow as time goes on, definitely.
I've been pleasantly surprised. I thought it was going to be a lot worse than it's been.
Tampa and Vegas are the only two teams that have allowed fewer goals than the Bruins.
Really? That's actually a really good stat. And I think that, to be fair, I think that's more how the goaltending's been playing for the Bruins compared to the defense. I think the goaltender's been very good. I think
Tuukka has missed a step.
Tuukka has been one of those guys where he's sometimes come off slow starts to seasons, but this season has not been one of those.
So through 11
Jaro
games,
is still Jaro. He can still steal you a lot of games.
Through 11 games, the Bruins have given up 24. Tampa's given up 19 in 10 games, and then Vegas has given up 22 in 9 games.
Vegas is so good.
So
their goaltending. It's still Leonard and Fleury.
And
that's two starters.
I mean, I was watching the Vegas game the other night against L.A. They were up 3-0 before it was 5 minutes into the game. And it's like this team just comes out with a fire lit under their ass night after night. Some nights they don't score in the first period, and then there are some nights where they explode for 3 goals in the first 5 minutes of the game.
Right.
And so, I mean, if you can find the ability to put the puck in the back of the net early and also keep it out of the back of your net like they have with Leonard and Fleury, that's a good recipe for success.
I said it. There's at the beginning of the season, before the season started, I'll say it again, my favorite to win the Cup is Vegas this year.
So I also 2 other quick points here, fellas, before we move along. I wanted to talk about Toronto. How do we feel about the Leafs and just, I guess, the Canadian division as a whole, or the Scotia North division?
They score 1 million goals, they give up 1 million goals. And Toronto doesn't have to play any of the boogeymen they normally have to, so they're living life in the Northern Division.
Yeah, the thing about the Leafs, granted, the Leafs have been performing admirably. They have a ton of injuries at this point. Wayne Simmons out for 6 weeks. Thornton's going to be out for, I think, another month. But, in a league where you don't have to worry playing or a division where you don't have to worry playing defense, you have Tavares, you have Matthews, Marner, all those guys, they're going to score. They're definitely, Vancouver, Christ.
I was just about.
Yeah, I was going to ask. I had that written down here too, Connor. I wanted to ask you what the hell is going on with your Canucks.
Well,
my Canucks.
I've said it before, boys. Just to bring up old things I've said, the Canucks will score 7 goals a game. They'll just give up 8.
Yeah.
And I thought Markstrom was going to Holtby was going to maybe help, but I kind of forgot that Holtby was kind of washed last year. So, I think he was overrated just because he was in Washington.
And
he was still riding the coattails
cup
run.
How many good defensemen are even in the North Division? 2? Shea Weber, Jeff Petrie has been unbelievable.
Good. Montreal's been the best team in the North Division.
Montreal, I think, has been the best team in the Canadian Division.
Aside from
but it's there are no good defensemen in the Canadian Division.
Yeah, who else is there? I mean, Mark Giordano.
He's kind of old though.
Yeah.
Phil, you want to hear a crazy number here, fellas?
Hughes he's regressed very hard.
North.
Did you guys see that goal he gave up the other night against the Leafs?
Who is it? Who are we talking?
Lost.
Hughes.
Oh yeah, Quinny boy, yeah.
I think the McCarr Hughes debate is over.
It's over.
I don't think it even should have started, but it's definitely over now.
So, fellas, I got a great fact right here for you. In the North Division, there's been a total of 90 games played. There has been 296 goals scored in the North Division so far.
Yep. Hammer the over every game.
Banana lands.
Hammer the over every game.
That's insane.
Dude, like, I'm not kidding. Basically, every game is like 5-4.
And real fast, just how upset are you if you're in the East Division? You have guys in the Canadian Division who are terrible teams, and every team in the East Division right now is 500 or better.
Yeah, that's fair.
Murderer's Row, fellas. The East Division is Murderer's Row.
Which makes me feel, to your point, Cam, it makes me feel more confident about the Bruins because the Bruins are 8-1-1 in this division.
Rangers on Wednesday as well.
Rangers on Wednesday. We should beat the Rangers. We'll see. But
also, everybody, breaking news: Pete Cohane has acquired his pizza.
Nice.
Happy National Pizza Day.
Yeah.
We're recording on February 9th, which is National Pizza Day. So good for Pete.
So, fellas, we have seen some of them. We've talked about them on here before, but teams are now starting to break out their reverse retros. Now that we've kind of seen them in gameplay here, what are our takeaways? Do we have any different ones?
I saw a Kachuk reverse retro on eBay. On eBay for $185, and I thought about it, but I don't like good or I don't know if it was a Gaudreau, sorry, but I don't know if Gaudreau is gonna stay.
Who cares if he stays? I mean, you still have a reverse retro.
I know.
Honestly, Blassie is one of the jerseys I would get just plain. It's such a good looking jersey.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need a number.
Hot take here for you, fellas. My sister, Allison, absolutely hates the Blasty
what
jersey.
Is with you?
Okay. I mean, it's okay to be wrong.
Good jerseys.
I told her the same thing too, Cam. I said, you know what? It's okay to have shitty opinions because that is exactly what you're bringing to the table here.
That's what I told you, Ian, when you were like, "Oh, the Minnesota
still a top 5 jersey, still a top 5 reverse,
top 3 reverse retro." It's like it's okay to be wrong. Like it's fine, pal.
No, it's still up there. And once I saw it in gameplay, it's beautiful. Those colors,
it's not a Wild jersey, Ian.
Yes, it is.
It's a North Stars jersey, man.
Okay, you didn't give me the same.
What did Sean say? Stolen Valor.
Stolen Valor of the North Stars.
It's okay. You didn't give me crap for the Colorado one with taking the Nordiques. No, you said the North.
Yes, I did. Maybe not on air, but I think that one's just as.
You also said you like it though.
Better. Yeah, it looks better.
You can like it and say that it's
stolen
kind of unfair.
Yeah, like the same thing with the Whalers stuff. It's like I think that's stolen valor and lame too. The Hurricanes have had cool enough jerseys to bring back.
Oh, dude, bring back the Hurricane flag jersey. That's what they should.
Yeah, that bring back the stupid whale. You're not even from the same team. Get out of here.
The Rangers have worn their Lady Liberty ones the last couple of nights. I really hope they do it tomorrow night too, because I'd love to see that for a full game against the Bruins.
Bruins have not worn ours yet.
Lady Liberty. Well, we're waiting for Lake Tahoe, aren't we?
Lake Tahoe ones, I think, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you see Tampa's the other night?
Those jerseys suck.
Tampa's the other night. The throwbacks for them.
No,
those were pretty good. I like those. The
Flyers ones were horrid.
Those were terrible. Montreal. Really? What do we feel about Montreal?
I like Montreal's.
The blue.
I was kind of in the middle.
Nice.
I think the whole combination as a whole is nice, but the jersey itself is kind of nice.
Itself's not.
The Leafs have the worst one.
Those are terrible.
Gray on blue on gray.
Why? That's a statistician's nightmare. Imagine reading those numbers.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Give me a headache just thinking about it.
And Cam, we talked about it when they dropped Dallas's
Oh, I hate them.
The green, not the
blackout
reverse retros,
ones,
the
though. I
blackout
am
ones.
completely
Yes,
ready
those are awesome.
I'm completely ready to reverse my opinion on the
They look
blackout.
good on the ice,
jerseys.
man.
They do. They
With
pop.
the pants and the helmets and the jersey in general, it looked very nice.
The whiteout, those gonna look so.
The
bad.
whiteouts look terrible though. I can't do that. Also, big thanks to the Dallas Stars Foundation for sending me a commemorative ticket of opening night that got you yesterday. Big thanks to them.
Nice. That's cool. Cam, we didn't have this in the talking points, but just real quickly here, if you give me 30 seconds, how do you feel about Alan Roach being a Crystal Palace fan?
I'm very upset that I didn't realize it was a thing. I checked Twitter during the game, and Crystal Palace, obviously Alan Roach announced the Super Bowl, and I'm like, oh, Alan Roach, I interviewed that guy.
Yeah, that was cool.
I bragged about it.
But I checked Twitter,
Multiple
and
times.
it said Crystal Palace fan Alan Roach talks about the Super Bowl, and I'm like, I had a Palace fan with us, and I didn't even know it.
And Mill trashed you.
And Mill trashed me.
If you were like,
maybe I gotta ask Alan Roach next time he sees Ryan Mill to say, hey, wait a minute here.
A couple pegs.
But yeah, so I wanted to ask you about that because
big time. I didn't know he was a Palace fan. Always nice to have another one of us that I know exists.
Yeah, because there's maybe like only 20 of you in the world.
We lost 2-0 to Leeds United. It's not looking very good. Wolf Zaha's out for 6 weeks, but we're gonna keep plugging away.
Relegation.
We're going down, son.
It's coming.
Oh boy.
At least I'm not Newcastle.
Swansea's coming up. Alice going down.
Alice is going down. Yep.
Fellas, lastly on the jerseys before we get to the bag of fun, the one I'm waiting to see, Arizona, because we haven't seen those ones yet. I really want to see how those look. Coyote. I'm waiting to see how those look.
Hell yeah.
So that's probably the only other one that I'm interested to see how they look on the ice. But yeah. All right, fellas. Well, we got one last thing to get to on today's episode. Connor, do you have any idea what that would be?
I do, Ian. It's the bag of fun. Everybody's been waiting for the bag of fun. Question of the quarantine. Cameron, what we got?
So Tom Brady, as we talked about earlier in the show, he won his 7th Super Bowl, unprecedented 7th Super Bowl. And this whole debate started with an Athletic article. You can go look for it if you want. Someone on the Athletic wrote an article. Tom Brady won his 7th Super Bowl. Is he the greatest athlete of all time? And I looked at that. I looked at that article and I thought it was. I didn't even read it, but just the headline just told me it was silly for a couple of reasons. Number one, Tom Brady himself. If you watch the Brady Six, Tom Brady himself has said, "I'm not a great athlete. I think I'm very average. I look at myself some days and I still don't think I'm very good." Is what the line was.
Yeah.
And number two, insinuating that Tom Brady is the greatest athlete implies that a 5'3" 40 is the pinnacle of human accomplishment.
Yeah.
Which is just outrageous.
You can't tell me he's the greatest athlete of all time after you look at him run anytime ever.
Yeah, when he was 22, he couldn't run. When he's 43,
he run.
Still can't run very good.
Yeah.
What did Edelman say about him? He looks like a gazelle.
Clydesdale.
Or a big Clydesdale running. Yeah. So the question: who do you guys think? And there are millions of athletes in many different sports that could apply to this question. But who do you guys think is the greatest athlete, pound for pound, of all time?
We're doing just one here, or I thought we were doing.
We can name a couple. I don't think we have to do Mount Rushmore, but I think we can name a couple.
Before we start answering, fellas, I do want to remind people Bag of Fun? That our Bag of Fun question of the quarantine is brought to us by our good friends over at Gab Sports Memorabilia. Head on over to Facebook. That's Gab with 2 B's.
2 B's.
GABB, Gab Sports Memorabilia on Facebook. If you're looking to start or grow a sports memorabilia collection without breaking the bank, fellas, they gave away 2 Tom Brady autographed helmets on Sunday as part of a Super Bowl package. They got a lot of great stuff coming out over there. So head on over to Facebook, search Gab with 2 B's.
2 B's.
Gab Sports Memorabilia on Facebook. to grow your sports collection without breaking the bank. So with that, Connor, you're up first. Greatest athletes of all time.
Okay. I saw this one, so it's kind of a cop-out, but I saw Usain Bolt. I think that's fair. Just his dominance.
Usain Bolt is a great shout.
And he's like an absolute specimen of an athlete, just like looking at him. I think that's a pretty good one. I thought Muhammad Ali came to mind when it came to athletes. I think his term of dominance in boxing was pretty crazy. And boxing is, you have to be an athlete if you want to be a good boxer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So those are kind of the first two that came to my mind, and I won't say any more. I'll let you guys go, and then we can kind of banter some other names out there.
All right. I'll list a couple. Tom Brady, Wayne Gretzky, Tiger Woods, Bo Jackson.
Tiger Woods is an athlete,
Jackson,
and
yes,
you need
he
to
is.
stop right now.
Tiger
Stop.
Woods.
Athlete, Ian, not GOAT. Greatest of all time, sure. Athlete, he's a golfer. No golfer is a good athlete.
You look at John Daly.
You golf until
John
you
Daly's
see
the man.
flat.
Yeah,
Yeah,
John
but
Daly's the man, but he's no
Good
athlete.
I'm putting Tiger.
Athlete,
Hey,
you put
this
Tiger
is
Woods.
all opinion based here, fellas.
I
opinion
understand
is wrong.
it. I'm telling you, your
Brady?
opinion is wrong.
Brady, Gretzky,
Brady on this list.
and Bo Jackson.
Bo
Bo
Jackson, I
Jackson is the
understand. That's
only
the
name
one
that has
name.
any merit in that.
You are crazy
in those
town,
four
Ian.
names.
I don't know if you are understanding
Whatever.
what this thing is.
How is Brady a good athlete?
7 Super Bowl rings. At the
That
toughest-
doesn't answer the question,
toughest-
Ian.
It's the toughest position in sports to play.
Athlete, Ian. Athlete.
In my opinion, Tom Brady is one of the greatest athletes of all time.
You are a
Story.
psychopath. I like.
Story. Fine. You want to check me into a mental
Ian,
hospital?
you
Go
sound
right
like one of
ahead.
those Twitter reply guys. That's
What?
just a horrible opinion.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
no, but Brady aside, what makes Tiger Woods a good athlete?
You've seen me golf, right?
I have.
You've seen Tiger golf, right?
I have.
He's a good athlete. Anybody
just some average Joe,
anybody
though,
can go
Ian.
pick up a set of golf clubs and go swing and chunk up a course like we do. But it just, dude, the sheer
Yo, just because
winningness
he's
that
better than you doesn't mean he's one of
No,
the
hold
greatest
on.
athletes of all time.
Right, I'm a better golfer than you, and I'm not the greatest athlete.
that's
of all
not true.
time.
You have never once beaten me in a
John
single match.
Scott
of
is
golf.
better at hockey than me, but I don't think he's a greatest athlete
exactly.
of all time.
Yeah, you think you're a better golfer than me? You've never once beat me.
Ian, I've been golfing for now not even a full year at this point.
Okay, and I've been going for what? Maybe a year and a half at the most.
That's longer than me. Well, you've been golfing way before I have. What are you talking about?
Okay,
a year?
maybe par 3 courses, but like this last year was probably the most golf that I've ever played in my life.
Oh, that makes you feel good. Means you wanted to golf with me. That's nice.
Bo Jackson is the only.
Bo Jackson is the only one that is justified.
Bo Jackson was so muscled
Not
that he
even Wayne
tore his
Gretzky?
own leg out of his socket.
Not even Gretzky belongs on that list.
Gretzky's not a great athlete. He was
Gretzky's not a
slow.
great
He
athlete.
was just he had a good brain for the game.
If
Hey,
Gretzky
look,
played
we
now,
asked-
he'd get destroyed.
We asked the questions.
All right,
we
yeah,
asked the question. I gave the answer.
Fair
All right,
enough.
Think
Fair
of it
enough.
what you may, but that is my list. I agree with Usain Bolt. He's in the consideration. He's up there in the conversation.
We got to put a Twitter poll out for this because
I
you
can.
are. We're going to do it. All right, Cameron, what do you got?
All right, so I got a couple of names in mind. The first one that came to mind, he's still playing right now. He's still one of the greatest to ever do it. Cristiano Ronaldo. Dude is yoked at 40 or whatever.
You want to
he
give me
is.
crap for a
30,
golfer,
whatever,
but we're going to
40.
put a soccer player on there?
Soccer players are
Have you
unreal
looked
athletes.
at
They run
Ronaldo?
miles. They run like a marathon every game.
Yeah, they run. Yeah.
Not necessarily. How many times do you see guys jogging up and down the field?
Oh,
Ronaldo never jogs. You ever seen Ronaldo play?
Come on, man.
Hey, I'm just stirring the
another
shit
name
pot
that
here.
Come
came to
on.
mind- Another name that came to mind, Michael Phelps.
I thought of him. That's a good one.
Guy's a human fish.
Guy swims in a pool. I can swim in a pool. What's the
If
difference?
we want to throw some women's representation in there, Serena.
Serena, yeah.
Arena.
Definitely one of the best. Probably the best or one of the best women tennis players of all time. Maybe even the best. I don't know
Okay,
much
we
about women's
mentioned.
tennis, but And then let me see if I can think of one. I'll name the other two sport athlete in the States. I'll say Deion Sanders.
Neon Dion.
Bad show. Neon Dion. Yeah,
Because
are you not saying
athlete is not only just like being a ripped dude and being good. Like Deion wasn't like the greatest baseball player, wasn't the greatest football player, but he was really good at both sports.
Yeah. And he's an athlete.
And honestly, I'll help Ian's Brady argument out here. Brady was going to be a first round draft choice in baseball.
Fair. But okay, we have to understand the definition of athlete.
Yes, somebody that plays.
And that's why this
sport
question will never
professionally.
be definitively answered.
No,
that's why it's fun.
I don't think it's that, Ian. I think of athlete and I think of like specimen, right? Like Tom Brady he's the greatest football.
Actually, I got one more.
Go ahead.
Sorry. She's young, but she's unbelievable. You know, you could call it a sport or not. It's in the Olympics. Simone Biles.
Yeah, that's fair.
Unbelievable athlete.
Gymnastic.
That's tough too.
All she does is win gold.
You need core for that stuff, man.
Yeah.
To stay on balance and stuff. But Brady is the greatest football player of all time. But he is not even like top 100 athletes of all time.
Yeah.
Now you're just talking out of your ass.
What do you mean talking out of my ass?
If he's not in the top
quarterback.
100, then I don't know what to tell you.
No, there's far more athletic.
He's the greatest football player of all time.
He may not even be the top 25 athletes in the NFL, dude.
Dude, if he's not in your top 100 of all time to this
He's
point, no.
Of all time. Not even, I mean, maybe top 100, but certainly not top 50.
Yeah, now you're reneging on your
No,
thing. You just said he might not even be in the top 100, and now here we go. Oh, well, he might be in the top 100.
Honestly, I mean, you go back and look at the game. Brady wasn't even the most athletic quarterback in that Super Bowl.
In the Super Bowl, exactly. He's probably the least athletic quarterback. Alex Smith, for Christ's sake, is more athletic than Tom Brady, and he has one leg.
I don't know about that one.
I mean, Christ, man, what are we talking about here?
And see, this is why, like Cam said,
Brady
would
have been able to do
will never be answered.
Brady wouldn't have been able to run 500 yards.
No, not a chance. He can't. He's just too slow. They'll catch him.
He's the only quarterback to ever throw for 500 yards in a Super Bowl and still lose. Like, come on.
How does that make him a good athlete?
I don't think that makes him an athlete.
Okay, when we think about athletes, you guys are just talking about build and body type, but there's so much more that goes into this.
No,
numbers, winning.
Sure, but Brady is not. It's a solid.
Oh yeah, that loser, the 4-time Champions League winner, Cristiano Ronaldo.
Right.
Okay, fine, whatever. He's a soccer player. He can be on the list. Whatever.
Oh, so
he's
that
up
gets
there.
discounted then, Ian, eh?
Whatever, but still, all right. If you guys want to throw Ronaldo on here, then there's no reason why Brady.
What about Mark
won more than him?
What about Messi? What about
does that make him a bad athlete?
I would put a lot of soccer players over
Messi,
Brady.
Shores, Zlatan. Yeah, the guy's
yeah.
Ibra is a freak.
Freak both.
Dude is
good at
40
soccer.
and
He's
he's
also
still
really
quicker
good.
than
I would put Lewandowski
dude.
over Brady. I would put who else?
Messi?
Yeah, Messi, freaking
Messi, I have no problem with. I mean,
Mbappe, like there's so many players I can.
So why do you have a problem with Ronaldo but not Messi?
I mean, the guy's been on how many loaded Juventus?
On the Messi train.
Oh, this dude's a Messi fanboy.
Messi, boo.
So whatever.
Nothing to say. He's got nothing to say.
This is why the question will never have a definitive answer because
there's no answer.
That's why it's fun.
Opinion on
there are no definitive answers, but there are a lot of wrong answers.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So, all right, fellas.
Oh man.
Number 47, Cam, is what?
In the pocket, out of sight.
There we go. That's what we like to do. That's what we like to do. So, once again, big thanks to Paul McCann for joining us here. The PA train rolls on. For Connor Powell, Cameron Urbowicz, my name's Ian Beauchesne. Lights out. Good night.